The Mystery of D.B. Cooper, the man who hijacked a plane and then disappeared without a trace. Chapter 1. November 24th, 1971. Thanksgiving Eve in America, when families gathered and travelers hurried to reach their destinations. At Portland International Airport, Northwest Orient Flight 305 prepared for a routine 30-minute flight to Seattle. Among the 36 passengers was a man in a business suit carrying a briefcase and a paper bag. He appeared unremarkable and polite. Within hours, he would become the most famous hijacker in American history. The man who called himself Dan Cooper, later misreported as D.B. Cooper, would execute what many consider the perfect crime. He hijacked a commercial airliner, extorted $200,000, and parachuted into a stormy night over dense Washington forests, never to be seen again. Cooper's case has inspired countless documentaries, books, and films. What makes his story enduring is not just the audacity of his crime, but his manner. Witnesses described him as courteous, calm, and almost apologetic. He ordered bourbon and soda, tipped the flight attendant, and treated everyone with unexpected kindness for a man committing a federal crime. The hijacking occurred during the golden age of hijacking, when airport security was minimal. However, Cooper's case stood apart. He wasn't seeking political asylum or acting out of desperation. His motives remained as mysterious as his identity. The FBI launched one of its longest-running investigations, interviewing hundreds of suspects and following thousands of leads. Despite their efforts, Cooper's true identity and fate remain unknown. Cooper's crime was executed with precision, suggesting careful planning and intimate knowledge of aviation and parachuting. He knew exactly what parachutes to request, understood the aircraft's capabilities, and demonstrated remarkable composure. These details led investigators to believe he was likely a military veteran with airborne training. The mystery represents more than an unsolved crime. It embodies American fascination with the outlaw hero who thumbs his nose at authority and disappears into legend. Cooper's escape seems almost impossible, making his story compelling. As we delve into this case, we must ask, who was Dan Cooper, and how did he vanish so completely that despite one of the most extensive manhunts in FBI history, he remains a ghost? Chapter 2. The Origins. To understand D.B. Cooper's mystery, we must examine the world he emerged from. The early 1970s were a time of social upheaval and anti-establishment sentiment. America was deep in the Vietnam War, trust in government was eroding, and challenging authority was often celebrated. The golden age of hijacking had begun in the 1960s. Between 1968 and 1972, there were over 130 hijacking attempts in the United States. Airport security was virtually non-existent, passengers could board without identification, and baggage screening was minimal. The man who became D.B. Cooper appeared to be the epitome of early 1970s business respectability. Witnesses described him as mid-40s, approximately 6 feet tall, weighing around 175 pounds, with dark hair and brown eyes. He wore a black business suit, white shirt, and black tie. His appearance was so unremarkable that he blended perfectly into the crowd of business travelers. What set Cooper apart was his apparent expertise. His knowledge of aviation terminology, parachuting equipment, and aircraft capabilities suggested military or aviation background. Many men of Cooper's age would have been World War II or Korean War veterans with potential airborne training. The choice of Thanksgiving Eve was likely deliberate. Air traffic would be heavy, creating confusion, while the holiday weekend would delay investigation response. The weather conditions, stormy with heavy rain and strong winds, would normally deter nighttime parachute jumps, but Cooper seemed undeterred. Cooper's demeanor suggested someone comfortable with high-stress situations. Flight attendant Florence Schaffner described him as calm, polite, and even apologetic. He displayed none of the erratic behavior typical of hijackers. If you're finding this story fascinating, make sure to hit that subscribe button. The planning behind this crime will astound you. Cooper's choice of the Pacific Northwest for escape was strategically sound. The region's dense forests, rugged terrain, and sparse population provided ideal conditions for disappearing. The area was familiar to many veterans who had trained at nearby military bases. The cultural climate was conducive to Cooper's eventual folk hero status. Anti-establishment sentiment was high, and many Americans were drawn to stories of individuals successfully challenging authority. Cooper's polite demeanor and lack of violence made him sympathetic to a public growing cynical about institutions. The man who called himself Dan Cooper seemed to emerge from nowhere, as if waiting his entire life for this moment. His careful preparation, calm execution, and mysterious disappearance suggest someone planning this crime for months, if not years. Chapter 3. The Crime. May 24th, 1971 began unremarkably. Cooper appeared at Portland International Airport without luggage, carrying only a briefcase and brown paper bag. He purchased a one-way ticket to Seattle, paying $20 cash. He selected seat 18C, an aisle seat in the rear section, a strategically important choice. Cooper appeared to be just another businessman. He was well-dressed, carried himself with confidence, and exchanged pleasantries with passengers. Flight attendant Florence Schaffner recalled he seemed completely ordinary. At approximately 3:00 p.m., 10 minutes into the flight, Cooper made his move. He handed Schaffner a note. Initially dismissing it as typical passenger correspondence, she tucked it away unread. Cooper leaned forward calmly. "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." The note, written in neat block letters, read, "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I will use it if necessary. I want you to sit next to me. You are being hijacked." Cooper then opened his briefcase slightly, revealing what appeared to be dynamite. Red cylinders connected with wires to a battery. Cooper's demeanor was remarkable for its calmness. He spoke in measured tones, made no aggressive gestures, and seemed almost apologetic. He asked Schaffner to inform the cockpit discreetly, to avoid alarming passengers. Cooper's demands were specific: $200,000 in $20 bills, 4 parachutes, and fuel trucks standing by. The amount was substantial, but obtainable quickly. Requesting 4 parachutes was clever. Authorities couldn't sabotage them without knowing which he'd use. At 5:24 p.m., Flight 305 landed in Seattle. Cooper instructed the crew to taxi to a remote area. While waiting, he engaged in casual conversation, discussing weather and flight procedures. His behavior was so normal that passengers remained largely unaware of the situation. The money arrived first. $200,000 in photographed $20 bills weighing 21 pounds. The parachutes took longer. Cooper had specifically requested military-style parachutes, demonstrating knowledge of different types. He examined each carefully, testing ripcords and inspecting packing. At 7:40 p.m., Cooper released the 36 passengers courteously. His next instructions revealed his sophisticated escape plan: fly toward Mexico City at 10,000 feet, landing gear extended, flaps lowered, reducing speed to 200 mph. These specifications were crucial for safe parachute jumping. Don't forget to hit that like button if you're finding this crime as meticulously planned as we are. At 8:00 p.m., Flight 305 took off with Cooper, crew, and ransom money. Cooper had changed into practical clothing and strapped on a parachute. He made his way to the aft stairs, a unique Boeing 727 feature allowing stairs to be lowered during flight. At approximately 8:24 p.m., somewhere over dense forests near Ariel, Washington, Cooper lowered the stairs and stepped into the stormy night. The crew felt sudden tail movement, indicating Cooper had jumped. He vanished into darkness, carrying $200,000 and leaving behind one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. Chapter 4. The Investigation. The FBI's investigation, designated NORJAC, Northwest Hijacking, became one of the longest-running in Bureau history. Spanning 45 years until suspension in 2016, it involved hundreds of agents, thousands of interviews, and countless forensic analysis hours. Initial investigation focused on finding Cooper himself. FBI agents coordinated massive searches through hundreds of square miles of dense Pacific Northwest forest. The search area was calculated based on flight path, wind conditions, and estimated jump time. Investigators faced immediate challenges. Severe weather had washed away potential evidence, while strong winds could have carried Cooper far from intended landing zones. Dense forest canopy made aerial searches difficult, while rugged terrain complicated ground efforts. The FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit profiled Cooper as likely a military veteran with parachuting experience, possibly World War II or Korean War service. His aviation knowledge suggested aircraft familiarity, while his calm demeanor indicated high-stress situation experience. Forensic analysis revealed crucial clues. Cooper left fingerprints on his bourbon glass and magazine, but these didn't match FBI databases, suggesting no prior criminal record. His abandoned tie contained microscopic particles, suggesting aerospace or chemical industry work. The investigation examined Cooper's parachute choice and apparent expertise. He selected military-style over sport parachutes, demonstrating equipment knowledge. However, he chose a non-steerable parachute, suggesting either incomplete expertise or confidence in landing abilities. The FBI received thousands of tips from the public. Each required investigation, consuming enormous resources. Some led to promising suspects, others were clearly imagination or reward-seeking attempts. In 1980, a significant development occurred when a boy found $5,800 in deteriorating $20 bills along the Columbia River. Serial numbers matched Cooper's ransom money, providing the first physical evidence since his jump. However, the bills raised more questions than answers. If you're as fascinated by this investigation as millions of others, make sure to subscribe to follow every development. The investigation utilized cutting-edge technology as available. Computer analysis, DNA testing, and advanced forensics were applied to evidence, though age and environmental exposure limited effectiveness. Investigators examined hundreds of potential suspects over years. Each required thorough vetting, with agents examining backgrounds, alibis, and case connections. Despite enormous resources, investigators couldn't definitively determine Cooper's identity or fate. The case files grew to thousands of pages, including reports, interviews, and analysis. The FBI investigated over 800 suspects, conducted countless interviews, and followed leads worldwide, yet Cooper's identity remained mysterious. Chapter 5. The Suspects and Evidence. Over 45 years, hundreds of individuals were considered potential D.B. Cooper suspects. Richard Floyd McCoy became serious consideration after executing a remarkably similar hijacking 5 months later. McCoy hijacked a United Airlines Boeing 727, demanded $500,000, and parachuted to safety over Utah. Unlike Cooper, McCoy was caught and convicted. McCoy fit Cooper's physical description and possessed required military background as a former Green Beret with extensive parachuting experience. However, he was only 29 at Cooper's hijacking time, younger than witness estimates. Kenneth Christensen worked for Northwest Orient Airlines and resembled FBI composite sketches. As an airline employee, he possessed intimate Boeing 727 knowledge. However, he was significantly shorter than witness descriptions. Sheridan Peterson, a former Boeing engineer, became a suspect in final investigation years. Peterson had worked on Boeing 727s and possessed intimate aircraft knowledge. His nephew claimed Peterson confessed on his deathbed, though this was never substantiated. Physical evidence was frustratingly sparse. Cooper's black tie, manufactured by J.C. Penney, contained microscopic particles, including rare earth elements and titanium compounds consistent with aerospace or chemical industry work. DNA analysis of the tie yielded genetic material, though degraded and limited quality. The profile was entered into databases but produced no matches. Some experts questioned whether the material belonged to Cooper or came from contamination. Cooper's fingerprints were recovered from several aircraft surfaces but didn't match FBI databases, suggesting no prior criminal record. The 1980 discovery of $5,800 in deteriorating bills along the Columbia River provided tangible evidence. The bills were severely degraded, suggesting years of environmental exposure, yet found in a neat bundle rather than scattered. Weather data painted a grim survival picture. Conditions included heavy rain, strong winds, and near-freezing temperatures. Most experts concluded survival was unlikely under such circumstances. Make sure to share this story with others fascinated by unsolved mysteries. Several theories emerged about Cooper's fate. The death on impact theory suggested Cooper died during or shortly after jumping due to harsh conditions and inappropriate clothing. The successful escape theory proposed Cooper survived and disappeared into new identity. A third theory suggests Cooper died sometime after jumping, but not immediately. Environmental analysis revealed challenges Cooper faced. Dense Douglas fir forests created thick canopy that could conceal evidence. Rugged terrain with steep ravines and waterways could have hidden remains or equipment. Despite extensive investigation, evidence remains incomplete, allowing multiple interpretations and ensuring the mystery remains compelling. Chapter 6. The Enduring Mystery. More than 50 years have passed since Dan Cooper stepped into that stormy November night and vanished into legend. In July 2016, the FBI officially suspended active investigation, citing exhausted credible leads and resource allocation to pressing matters. Yet Cooper's mystery continues captivating new generations of amateur sleuths and investigators. The FBI's suspension marked the end of one of the longest-running bureau cases. Over 45 years, agents investigated more than 800 suspects, conducted thousands of interviews, and followed global leads. Case files filled multiple cabinets with everything from witness statements to complex mathematical calculations. Despite official suspension, the case remains technically open. The FBI would investigate any significant physical evidence, keeping hope alive for those believing Cooper's story has chapters left to write. Cooper's cultural impact extends far beyond law enforcement. He became a folk hero, subject of countless books, documentaries, and films. Annual conventions bring together enthusiasts sharing theories and examining evidence. The case inspired everything from serious academic research to whimsical conspiracy theories. Cooper's legend reflects deeper American cultural themes: outlaw romance, perfect crime appeal, and disappearing completely from modern surveillance society. In an era of increasing government oversight and technological tracking, Cooper's escape seems almost impossible, making his story compelling. The case's influence on aviation security was profound. Cooper's hijacking contributed to implementing mandatory baggage screening, metal detectors, and other security measures that fundamentally changed air travel. Recent developments included new DNA analysis techniques applied to Cooper's tie evidence, though results were inconclusive. Advanced computer modeling refined calculations about possible landing zones, but time passage made ground searches increasingly unlikely to yield results. Some investigators believe Cooper died during or after his jump, making the case historical curiosity rather than ongoing mystery. Others maintain Cooper survived and lived under new identity. A third group hopes Cooper might still be alive, Though he'd now be in his 90s, Cooper's story has become intertwined with broader American crime and punishment narrative. His polite demeanor and apparent lack of violence made him sympathetic to many, while his successful escape represents individual cunning victory over institutional power. The case highlighted 1970s criminal investigation technique limitations. Modern DNA analysis, computer modeling, and surveillance technology might have solved the case quickly if available then. Make sure to subscribe to follow other legendary unsolved mysteries that continue baffling investigators worldwide. Cooper's mystery endures because it represents something larger than simple criminal case. It embodies American reinvention dreams, escape possibility from circumstances, and unknown romance. Cooper's story appeals to human nature that admires audacity and celebrates underdogs outsmarting systems. Whether Cooper died in Washington forests or lived to enjoy ill-gotten gains, he achieved immortality through mystery. His story continues inspiring new investigations, theories, and creative works, ensuring D.B. Cooper's legend will outlive anyone who might have known his true identity. Perhaps the greatest mystery isn't who Cooper was or what happened to him, but why his story continues resonating powerfully with each generation. The man who called himself Dan Cooper may have vanished into night, but the questions he left behind continue challenging our understanding of crime, justice, and perfect escape possibility. D.B. Cooper's case remains a testament to mystery's power in human culture and the enduring appeal of individuals who dare challenge the impossible, and against all odds, might just succeed. If this story has intrigued you, subscribe to the channel to discover other real crimes that shocked the world and the minds behind them.